Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Rehearsal time for Westchester Furioso at the Town Hall in Meredith, New Hampshire. And on stage, Mary and Harry are about to run through the ping pong scene from Act Two, as we hear them say.
Okay, cast, let's take it from the top, this scene. This is the famous ping pong scene now.
It's a scene between Margaret and Russell, isn't it, Greg?
That's right. I'm all set.
This is all coming back to me better than I thought.
It's funny, isn't it? Once you've committed something to memory this way, just to walk through brings it all back to you.
Yes, that's right. And it gives you a feeling of security to know that you do remember the lines. It's been quite a while since we played this part.
But we're such pros, though, even if we do forget a line or a hesitation, we can cover it beautifully.
We can ad-lib, throw in a line, make a line up that'll fit the scene.
Look, would you cool it on the ad-libbing? Because the last time you did that, it threw everybody off.
I know what you mean.
The effects man, the stage manager, the fella running the curtain, he didn't know what to do.
Right, Greg.
See, what happened was you started ad-lib and then went on 10, 15 minutes, and everybody was totally confused. The musical director quit, you recall.
Yes, I do remember.
So if you could bear in mind, cool the ad-libbing and stick to the script.
We doing any of the musical numbers today, Mr. Barlow?
Maybe a little bit we will, yeah.
Well, I'll have to go back to the new Meredith house and get my tap shoes then.
All right, whatever you...
I'll be back in 15
Okay,
minutes.
Mary and Harry, let's have it from the top now in the ping pong scene.
Right, Greg. Margaret?
Yes.
Your ping pong playing seems better than ever.
You're playing so furioso lately.
Particularly here in Westchester.
Yeah.
There are many ways to attack the ping pong game.
You're putting a little English on those shots, aren't you?
Just a little bit, my dear.
Kind of a weird chop. Now, where did that ping... Oh, that's not in the script. Where'd the ping pong go?
It went over there, over under the chair. I'll get it.
All right, fine.
Sorry, Greg.
It's okay. Cut out the ad-libbing, though. Stick to the script.
Well, Mary was just commenting on the fact that the ping pong ball went off the edge of the table.
Well,
Here
if
it
that
is.
happens in the show, just don't say where the ball goes. Just go
All
get
right.
it. You understand?
Sure, we'll pick it up right here. Yes, and your serves seem better than ever, too.
I'm putting a little English on my serves now. Have you noticed?
What's that line again, Greg?
You're supposed to say, what did you say?
What did you say?
I'm putting a little English on my serves now. Did you notice?
Where'd the ball go? Oh, here it is.
God,
Wait.
I don't think you know your part, Harry.
Well, let me have the book. We just run over a little bit here.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that, Mary?
I didn't say anything.
Calvin, is that you?
No, it's not me. I'm just sitting here working a crossword puzzle in the dimly lit backstage.
Greg? Do you hear what we hear up here?
What is that? Is that some kind of a joke?
Well, it's certainly not in the show.
Hey, Peavy?
Yeah, howdy, Bob.
Peavy, come here.
Yeah.
We're just going through a run-through of Westchester. Can you tell me what's all this we're hearing?
What's that? What do you mean?
Well, it sounds like ghosts if I...
Oh, they've come back. You heard them.
Heard what?
I don't hear anything now.
I don't either, but just a few moments ago, we definitely heard ghosts, or something that sounded like ghosts.
Well, if you heard that, they're back. It's the Meredith Jinx. And so Mr. Peavy, the janitor at the town hall, mentions the Meredith Jinx. What is it? What effect will it have on Westchester Furioso? Be sure to listen on Monday when we'll hear Greg Marlowe say,
That's funny, you hit that ping pong ball and it just disappeared.
That's Monday in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
We invite you to spend another educational session with the idol of the nation's youngsters, Mr. Science. As we look in on the modern, well-equipped laboratory today, we see that little Jimmy Schwab is just arriving to watch Mr. Science perform his latest fascinating experiment.
Well, hello there, Jimmy. you're right on time, as usual, to watch me perform my latest fascinating experiment.
I always make it a point to be punctual when I know you're going to perform a fascinating experiment, Mr. Science. What wondrous thing have you chosen for today?
Well, Jimmy, today we're going to demonstrate how the rays of the sun can be utilized to start a bonfire.
Leap and lizards, Mr. Science. I'll bet we have get a lot closer to the sun to do that. How are we going to fly up there?
Well, you don't have to fly up to the sun to do it, Jimmy.
Holy mackerel, Mr. Science. You mean you're going to bring the sun down here?
No, son. We're going to do it with the aid of this ordinary magnifying glass.
Boy, oh boy. That's just like the magnifying glass my grandpa Schwab uses to read the newspaper. But he never started a fire with it. He lets his cigar ashes drop between the sofa cushions to do that.
Well, it's necessary to capture the rays of the sun in a certain way to create fire, Jimmy. You'll learn the scientific principle from today's experiment. Now, first, you'll notice that we brought the ingredients we need for starting our fire over here by the laboratory window. Now, that's to make the sun's rays readily available.
Great suffering catfish, Mr. Science. What's that ingredient you've piled up there on the laboratory workbench?
That's called straw, Jimmy.
Straw? Wowie, wowie, zingo. Wait till I tell the gang at school I've seen some of that.
Yes, well, I'm sure this is opening up a whole new world for you, son.
Oh, gosh, I'm awestruck with childish amazement.
Well, the most exciting part is yet to come. Now, watch how I hold the magnifying glass so that it directs all the sunlight onto one small area of our straw pile.
Boy, oh boy, holding it that way likewise makes the straw look much larger when viewed through the glass.
Well, that's true, Jimmy, but that's not the point of this particular experiment.
Well, holy Ned, Mr. Science, I don't see any other point. The straw is just lying there looking bigger than it did before.
Well, observe more closely, Jimmy. You see the smoke starting to rise from that spot where the sun's rays are concentrated?
Oh, golly, two shoes. I sure do, Mr. Science. And now the scientific element we've learned to call fire is breaking through the smoke. Boy, oh boy, my eyes have never beheld such powerful magic.
Well, it's not magic at all, Jimmy. We've simply taken the rays of the sun, which normally fall over a wide area, and directed all of their intensity into one small point. Now I'll go get some water to put out the flames before they can cause any damage to my laboratory.
And while you do that, I'll perform another experiment with the magnifying glass here. I want to see what happens when we direct the rays of the sun onto the stuff in this test tube.
Oh, no, don't do that, Jimmy. That's a highly volatile fluid there. Put the magnifier away, son.
Gee, I don't know what volatile means, but I only want to set it on fire a little to prove that... This session with Mr. Science was brought to you as a public service, paid for by the Philanthropic Council to make things nicer. Today's broadcast was the last in our current series.
And now, once again, around the corner and up your block, comes the friendly poet-philosopher Charles to reach once again into his tattered, dusty manuscripts and bring forth the poem of romance, adventure, or hope. Charles?
I had a dream the other night when all the world was still. I dreamt I saw a graceful gull there high above the hill.
Well, that was lovely, homely village poet, but now a brief message for stomach sufferers.
Oh, wait just a minute. That wasn't the end of the poem.
Charles, I'm sure our listeners capture the mood with you.
Yeah, but there's 3 more stanzas about this gull flying around.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we do have to get the commercial message in. Now, will you just pause a minute and read over your next poem while I'm doing this?
All right, but I haven't gotten to the best part yet.
Friends, do you spend sleepless nights in agony? If so, then here's wonderful news about a great new product that brings speedy, blessed relief. New improved 6-way gas pills, specifically designed to free you from the miseries of overindulgence. Only 5 cents a roll, 3 rolls for a quarter. Get some today. And now, once again, here's Charles, your friendly poet-philosopher.
I can't forget the rolling sea and the crashing tide and the foam. The mountainous waves are a part of me, and the deck of a ship is my home.
Friends, do you know that athlete's foot can cripple you?
Oh, come on. Now, wait a minute. I'm not even close to being finished
Well,
with
I'm
this.
sorry, but we've sold these spots and we have to do them. Prying's Toe Ointment is spending a lot of money on you, Charles.
Well, look, I'm the artistic type. I'm getting pretty burned up about
Well,
this. I
that's-
mean, I get in a mood for Poe, and you lay on athlete's
That's
foot.
commercial radio for you. Now, if you'll just be quiet.
I saw Rod McCune on the Today Show, and they let him finish.
Neighbors, don't let unsightly, peeling, scabby feet rob you of health and happiness. Now, athlete's foot is curable without a doctor's prescription.
Brother.
Ask your druggist about Prang's Toe Ointment.
Oh.
Just state your shoe size, and he'll recommend the tube to fit your needs. And now, once again, here's Charles.
Listen, I don't think I can go on. I'm still pretty peaked.
Let's control
I'm out of the
ourselves,
mood.
Charles. We have a job to do here, you know.
And look, stop calling me homely, too. Some women find me quite attractive.
Well, I just use that as homely poet philosopher. No offense intended. Go ahead, Charles.
My loved one is an angel true, all dressed in snowy white. She comes to me mid-morning dew, in the last great touch of night. My loved one is blossom fair.
Neighbors, are you bothered with long, unsightly hair growing out of your ears?
Oh, hey, wait a minute. This is going too
Why not
far.
try
Hey,
the
what
new
is this?
Miracle Gaylord Ear Cream?
Oh, come
Just
on.
a few drops stuffed in with a toothpick is guaranteed to kill every living thing.
Oh, brother.
Don't let your friends call you shaggy ears. Try Gaylords today.
I wish I could find some product to stuff in your mouth.
Now, until next time, your friendly, homely poet philosopher Charles says,
Take a long walk off of Brooksville.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. The Meredith Jinx. That's what the janitor, Wallace Peavy, calls the strange sounds that came out of the darkness at the little New Hampshire town hall as Mary, Harry, Pop, and Calvin were rehearsing scenes for Westchester Furioso. Now, minutes after our last episode, we hear Greg Marlowe say,
Okay, that looked pretty good. Now I think if we could get the cast on Pop, we want to do your dance routine.
Okay, Mr. Marlowe.
And then we want to have the second act finale with all the girls, the singers, and In Your Hat number.
Right. What do you think about that jinx, Greg? Do you think it's going to hurt the show at all?
Well, I don't believe in any ghosts or spooks or jinx, do you?
Well, they were ghostly sounds that we heard.
If they were ghostly sounds, it's somebody up there in the third balcony who's trying to see.
They heard it again.
Sure, well, it doesn't bother me, not one bit.
Where's Mary?
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 Maybe she went over to the coffee shop across the street.
Well, I hope so.
No, I mean, go ahead and scream again, Ghost. You got us petrified down here.
See how frightened we are? What do you suppose Mary is?
She probably went across the street.
Mary?
I didn't see her leave the theater. It's so dark out there, you can't see anything.
Mary?
Well, why don't we go ahead with rehearsal and maybe she'll show up.
Okay. All right, Pop, on stage for that big dance number.
Little music. Hey. How's it look, Miss Marlowe?
Great, great. Keep smiling, though.
Right. Hair flops down in my eyes. Gotta get something to take care of that. Oh!
Great. Great. The ghost must like it, too.
Yeah, that could be the janitor, on the other hand.
I'm going to get the police and have them check this out. This is nonsense.
All right, you want to bring the girls out and have them
Girls,
start the
on
number?
stage, please, for the big second act finale. If you would, please. Okay, Maestro, hit it. Smile, girls. That's it.
Boy, it's good to hear that music again.
In your hat by Lily Dashay, and your gown by Scaparelli. You're as pretty as a rhinestone in your...
Just go ahead, girls. Don't let it bother you.
And when you're passing by, how could any mortal sigh? such as I keep from sighing. Isn't she lovely? Don't I adore the way her gorgeousness has thrilled me to the core? She is so lovely and so divine, I'd swim the Panama Canal to make her mine.
Greg, I don't know what to make of those noises. There's something going on here that we'd better check out.
Oh, it's some crank up on the balcony. I'll call the cops. I'll get them out of here.
Probably
It's
some of
showtime.
the town kids that just
Boy.
try to raise trouble with the
Meredith Jinx, I buy that.
Your
Oh.
hat.
Smile. Keep smiling, girls.
You're an invitation to a fond caress. And when you pass my way,
Keep smiling, girls, or I'll applaud you.
Greg, I'm going out and look for Mary. I'm afraid she's missing. And so Harry expresses concern for Mary. But is she really at the coffee shop across the street? And what of the Jinx in Meredith, New Hampshire? Be sure and join us tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin say,
She wasn't there, huh?
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Standing by now with a live microphone we trust, it's Wally Ballou.
Harold here in Sunnyside, and Mr. Gilmore, the trophy trade manager, is with me. Mr. Gilmore, I understand another shipment of Bob and Ray memorabilia arrived this morning to go aboard the train, items that weren't carried coast to coast in your recent trip.
Some brand new Bob and Ray memorabilia arrived this morning, as you point out, and we're just getting them placed into the various display cases.
Is that what those gentlemen in the white jackets are doing?
That's right, and you notice that they all wear white cotton gloves too, so as not to put any
Spots or anything.
spots or fingerprints or anything on these Bob and Ray precious trophies.
Can you tell us what some of the new items may include, so that the folks who haven't had the opportunity to visit the trophy trade as yet will have something more to look forward to?
Well, we have Bob's tie that he wore at his high school graduation. That's going into the case down there.
Right.
We have
Ray's report cards in that case, right?
Ray's shoes, boots, with a little compartment for a jackknife that he wore in the 4th grade. They're going into those. See right down there, he's putting them in now.
Yes.
They held up remarkably over these years. They don't make boots with places for jackknives hardly anymore.
No, and probably it's a good thing if you want to make a comment on everyday life.
Oh, really? I always thought that was a nice idea myself.
I think there was also
a sheepskin coat.
Coat, right.
That belonged to one of them. I haven't had a chance to check it all out. It's going in there now.
I think
those are very warm in the winter, you know.
The gear shift knob off the first automobile that Bob owned.
Is that so?
I think so, yeah.
I haven't had a chance to go through. I just had the inventory handed to me. I beg your pardon?
It's marble.
Really?
It's a marble gear shift.
I thought it was imitation, those
well,
things.
might be
Real
imitation.
marble, they'd be pretty heavy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. Could be glass, maybe.
You know, marble is, if you hit marble wrong, it'll shatter in a million pieces. I don't think it would be very practical to use marble as a gear shift knob. I really don't.
Probably wouldn't.
Speaking of automobile accessories, I don't know who owned this. There's a horn that goes dun 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 dun, and that's being placed in the case now. That goes back a few years. And we're adding, of course, some new food items here at the refreshment tent.
Such as, Mr. Gilmore, I was just going to ask you that.
Well, of course, we have the usual, the pickle burger, the Maryland crab cakes, and the fried clams and so forth. Today, we're adding grilled cheese and tomato sandwiches.
Of course, that isn't anything really unusual. I don't think you could expect a run on that, although
it's a steady
favorite. Standard, of course it is.
It is standard, but it's a steady favorite. clear across the country. We haven't had a chance to have those before.
Right.
And we are offering for other people who are probably watching their diet, dried toast.
Well, fine. It sounds like a good assortment of...
I point out the people here at Harold seem to be a little different than the average Bob and Ray fan that we've met across the Southwest and Far West.
Really? Well, of course, they're New Yorkers for the most part.
Essentially, they are mostly New Yorkers. And
Stand over here just a minute.
Right.
They're a little close to that other track.
Very. As you recall, yesterday we pointed out how we ran the Bob and Ray trophy train through the car wash and inadvertently left the windows open, so that we had some water damage in the car. That's been all repaired now, and everything has been swabbed up and in good shape.
You going to take care of the graffiti tonight so that it'll be...
Well, that's very difficult. We're running into more of that here in New York now than we had anywhere else in the country. They use these day-glow colors.
Stand in a little closer.
Right. They come by in the wee hours of the morning, I guess, with these day-glow colors and...
Spray cans, I guess, isn't it?
Is that what it is? I don't know. Of course, they're beautiful, colorful, but it is irritating to a degree. We'd like to have this just with the famous Bob and Ray colors, red, white, and blue.
Just what people have come to know and recognize when it pulls into their town over the years.
A lot of people get us confused with an Amtrak train.
Right.
Because we have pretty much the same color scheme, but we don't have that Amtrak arrow.
Right.
As such.
Well, that's the story then from Harold. This is Wally Ballou with our first report of the afternoon. As things develop through the remainder of the day, we'll call in if there's something.
How about a grilled cheese with tomato?
Wouldn't mind. I'll make my way over there and have one. Thank you.
Look, here's a ticket. You can have it for free.
Thank you. Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Yesterday, in the deserted town hall in Meredith, New Hampshire, as Greg Marlowe was putting the cast of Westchester Furioso through its rehearsal, Harry, Calvin, and Papa Lovett suddenly discovered that Mary was not in attendance. Now, it's a few minutes later, as the four men stand on the dimly lit stage, the orchestra and chorus having been given a 10-minute break. And we hear Greg say...
Did Calvin get back with the sandwiches?
No, I don't think he's back yet, Greg. Greg, we're concerned about Mary and where she might be, not about sandwiches.
Calvin seems to be taking a long... Of course we're concerned about Mary, but she can't be far. Maybe she went back to the hotel.
No, I called there. They haven't seen her.
Oh.
Then there's those strange noises, the Meredith jinx, Mr. Peavy calls it.
Well, I'm not going to let that bother me at all.
No, that's a bunch of Meredith rowdies, I think, up in the...
Sure it is. It's just a bunch of dropouts up there trying to make life miserable for us, and I just won't let them get to us. I'm going to call the police shortly.
I wonder if Mr. Peavy has seen Mary anywhere. Oh, Wallace? Wallace?
Mr. Peavy?
Howdy, Bob.
I wonder if you could shed some light on the disappearance of our friend, Mary Backstage. She's the star of this play, and we haven't seen her now for almost 30, 35 minutes.
She's the wife of the beloved idol of a million other women.
That's right.
Huh.
Okay, the sandwiches. Who had the corned beef?
No, I ain't seen her.
I did. I wanted the corned beef.
I had ham and cheese, Calvin.
Okay.
I did, too. Mine was on rye.
Right,
So was mine, Pop.
Okay, and everybody had this milk, right? Oh, be quiet. You're not going to scare us.
When do you plan to call the police, Greg?
Here's your pickle.
Thank you.
Where's my pickle?
Oh, here it is, Mr. Marlowe.
Oh,
Yeah?
good.
You seen Mary?
Who?
Have you seen Mary?
No, we haven't seen her yet, and I just asked the janitor if he'd seen her. He said no.
Oh,
Greg's going to call the police about the sounds out of the balcony.
See, I brought a pastrami sandwich for her. It's $1.25 right down the drain, unless somebody else wants to eat it.
Well, I think the company will pay for it.
Do you hear those noises upstairs?
Yes, now that you mention it.
Maybe that's the theater personnel probably sweeping out the balcony.
It also might be Mary
exploring the theater and finding out where the various fire exits are so that in case of emergency, she'll know just where to run.
But she sounds like she's walking around in trooper shoes. And
Yes.
she was wearing those very dainty ballet slippers last time I saw her.
Right. No,
See?
that couldn't be Mary with a...
Who's going to take this pastrami off my hands? Because I bought it for Mary, and I
I'll
sunk
leave it wrapped up there, Calvin.
$1.25 into it, and they charge you 2 cents for pickle slice.
Boy, prices are high here in Meredith, aren't they?
Well, they're high all over. Everything's out of sight, you
Right in
know.
the heart of the salami belt, too.
Mr. Peavy,
Yeah, howdy, Bob.
do you want a pastrami sandwich? The price is right.
How much you asking for it?
$1.25, 2 cents for this pickle slice.
No, I can get it for 70 cents.
Where?
Across the street.
Well, why didn't you tell us about that? I went 2 blocks.
You didn't ask me.
That's the jinx of this theater, all right. Nobody wants
Wait, here comes somebody.
to do
Mary?
anything.
Oh, somebody did come in then.
I didn't see anybody. I heard the door open, though.
I saw the flash of sunlight come into the darkened theater here, then the door shut.
Calvin, didn't you ever think to ask for mustard on these sandwiches?
And so the mystery deepens as to Mary's whereabouts. And what are the steps upstairs in the balcony? Be sure and join us tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin say,
I thought I saw her driving a cab.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. And now, Jungle Haven, the last roadside zoo still operating on Interstate 5 with real raccoons, invite you to join us for more thrilling action in the life of Blimmix.
My name's Joe Blimmix. I'm a private investigator. The other night, I was working late at the office when I got a call from a gorgeous blonde I'd met the evening before. She wanted to know if she could drop by for a drink. I suspected she had information about the Whitford case, so I told her to come on over. I was just putting on my smoking jacket and chilling the champagne when I heard a knock on the door. So I did the only thing I could. I said, "Come in."
Are you Joe Blimmix?
Yes, but I'm afraid the office is closed for the day. In fact, I'm just waiting around for a gorgeous blonde to drop by for a drink.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Oh, are you involved in the Whitford case, too?
No, I'm involved with the gorgeous blonde. She's my wife.
Oh, well, you'll probably be seeing her at home later on, then. So, why don't you just run along now?
I think I should tell you, Blimmix, I'm the insanely jealous type.
Don't feel you have to tell me about it, fella. We've all got some little neurotic trait like that. You might not believe it, but I have a fear that my ruggedly handsome face will be scarred in an accident of some kind.
That's too bad, because I'm about to work you over until your mother wouldn't recognize you.
Strange you should mention that, because I'll never forget the time I stopped in to see Mom while I was wearing a disguise. I was trying to crack a case by making people think I was Mussolini, but Mom recognized me right away.
Stop stalling, Blimmix. You got the beating of your life coming, and I don't want my wife to have to see it.
Well, there's a chance she won't show at all. I'm only guessing she's involved in the Whitford case. So what happens if I'm wrong and she doesn't come?
Then I will have wasted my energy beating the daylights out of you. But don't worry about it, pal. The boss says I need the practice.
Well, if it's important to your career.
Oh, no doubt about that. Guy in my business can't afford to get rusty. So if you just turn around and pretend I'm sneaking up on you from behind...
Okay, how's this? I can still see your shadow, but I won't look at it.
Good. The surprise element's important. So here we go now. There. That should be good enough workout to keep me in shape. But let me warn you, Buster, if you ever go near my wife again, I'll be back.
After he left, I lay there under the coffee table trying to figure it all out. I still didn't have any real proof that the gorgeous blonde was connected with the Whitford case. But if she wasn't, what made her husband so afraid that I might talk to her again? It was like a jigsaw puzzle. I couldn't make the pieces fit together. So I just marked the case closed and stuck it away in my files. The files of Joe Blimmix, private investigator.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. In the midst of rehearsals for the opening of Westchester Furioso in Meredith, New Hampshire, Harry, Pop, and Calvin, along with Greg Marlowe, discovered that Mary seemed to be missing. Now, as rehearsals come to a halt, we see our friends on the stage at the town hall, and we hear Greg say,
All right, I guess that should do it for today. I think we can all go back to the hotel. I think I'll take a run downtown and report to the police that these spooks here are interrupting our rehearsal at the theater, and also report that Mary's missing.
Well, I thought maybe I'd grab a cab and drive around town. Maybe I'd spot her someplace.
Well, I'll go along with you, Harry.
Well, I will, too. I don't want to go back to the hotel.
No, I don't.
I'm full of the old vim and vigor.
Well, its town isn't too big. We should be able to...
Yeah.
What a beautiful day.
Don't see any cabs, do you?
Well, you have to wait a while.
Hey, cab.
He sees us. Okay, Greg, you're going back to the police department.
I'll see you later.
All right.
So long, guys.
Okay, cabby. How do you...
Okay, let's get in.
Why not? Let's open the door here and get into this cab. There we are.
Huh?
Where to?
Why, we just want to cruise around town, ma'am, and we're looking for my wife.
Look.
What?
Look at the cab driver.
I didn't get a look at his face when we got in.
Where to, boys?
Well, we just want to drive around town for a bit, Gabby, so we can have a chance to find my wife, maybe, if she's walking around somewhere.
Well, that could be pretty expensive if you just want me to ride around town with you.
Hey, Harry.
That old meter will run up like nobody's business.
What is it, Bob?
You notice anything familiar about that boy?
Tell you what I'll do. I'll take you run out.
No,
by the
I don't
city
believe so.
Dump. I'll go out this way. Then I'll cut back by the river road.
All right.
And then we'll go over, across the railroad tracks into the factory area. And
Hey, Harry.
What?
keep your eyes peeled for
Haven't
whoever
you
you're looking for.
Heard that voice somewhere before?
No, as I said, I can't place it, Pop. How about you, Calvin?
Well, from here it looks like Mary, but that's silly, right?
Like Mary?
Yeah.
Driving a taxi cab?
Driver, you a native of Meredith here?
No, I don't know where I all came from. I just been driving a cab for a few days.
Sure sounds like Mary's voice.
Well, now...
There you are.
You mean we've seen the whole town?
That's pretty much it, I guess, huh?
I didn't
That's
even
it.
see the dump area.
This isn't exactly L.A., you know.
Well, no, but there's more than one street.
So long, sport. See you in town.
I swear that's a familiar voice.
You know what?
What?
She didn't even ask for money.
You're right.
How are you going to die?
Oh, what a friendly town this is. And so the search will go on for Mary, although Calvin seems to feel that the cab driver was indeed Mary Backstage. Be sure and join us tomorrow when we'll hear Greg say,
Oh, that must be a lot of hogwash.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. And right now, it's our Geriatrics Corner feature that attempts to create better understanding between employers and some of our senior citizens. Employers will do well to hire some of these people. Isn't that right, Mr. Elmer Garvist?
It was right during the days of the Cleveland Gold Rush, too. Yes, sir.
Cleveland?
Yes, not too many people know about that. And did you know that silver was once discovered in Philadelphia?
No, I didn't. And, sir, I think maybe I could respectfully ask first just what is your age?
Well, I'm a bit vain about that. Let's just say that I'm over 98 and under 120.
Well, you must have been around when Lincoln was alive.
Oh, that guy.
Well, we won't go into that.
Better not. I could go on for days about him.
All right. Well, Mr. Garvist, to what do you attribute your reaching the age of 98 or over?
Work. Keep working.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm doing some freelance longshoreman work on the docks.
Isn't that strenuous work for a man of your age?
Not if you know how to swing a bailing hook. There's a trick to it, you know.
Uh-huh. What is the trick?
Well, you can go whistle in your hat, Sonny.
Oh, I understand. Mr. Garvest, are you married?
No, I divorced my wife about 80 years ago. Actually, the divorce isn't legal yet. I'm waiting for the final papers to come through.
Then you'll be a free man.
Free as a bird.
Any chance for a reconciliation?
Not as far as I'm concerned. I met her recently in a Cuban hotel. That's when we were having the trouble down there about a battleship that was blown up, and she carried on and all like that about her wanting to stay married, but I got her a job on a sugar plantation instead, and I've had no trouble from her since.
Well, you mentioned before that you were doing freelance longshoreman work. Do you look for other jobs in your spare time?
Yes, I do.
I suppose you find employers hesitate to hire a man over 98?
Oh, I sure do,
What do you think the reason for that may be?
Well, it's hard to say. Just last week I applied for a job as a typist and got turned down.
Seems unfair.
Well, not really. You see, I don't type at all. But when you get on, the idea is to keep busy. Ephraim Stoker taught me that. Boy, he works like a beaver.
Who's Ephraim Stoker?
He's a friend of mine, twice as old as I am, and he really gets around.
What sort of work does he do?
He's in show business. I believe he's scheduled to appear in some nightclub around here next week.
It's hard to believe a man that old being in show business. What kind of an act does he do?
Well, first he comes out and shows some relics from the old days.
Yeah.
Muskets, powder horns, things like that.
Sure.
And then he hits them with the one line in his act.
What does he say?
Well, it's more for historians than for a nightclub audience. He tells them that at the Battle of Yorktown, General Cornwallis had rickets and was unfit to fight.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Garvest. You want to be driven home in a magnificent limousine provided by the self-drive people?
No, I think I'll run up to Washington Heights. That's where I live.
All right, suit yourself, sir. Thank you. And now, Blue Tiger, the only fireworks company with the space-age know-how to put your child on the moon, brings you another episode of The Gathering Dusk, the heartwarming story of a girl who never knows when to quit because she never knew when to get started. As we look in on the Bessinger household today, Edna is lounging on a chaise lounge in the downstairs lounge. It's mid-afternoon, and Dr. Gladlow, the county coroner's deputy in Red Boiling Springs, is just arriving.
Oh, it's you, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. It was good of you to come over so quickly. When I called, I wasn't sure you'd remember me at all. It's been so many years since I've seen you.
Well, when you're a coroner, a lot of the people you deal with never see you at all. That's just a little joke one of the boys at the morgue came up with the other day.
Well, it must be nice to work in a place where everybody clowns around a lot. When I was pursuing my career, it was just all business.
Well, I didn't realize you ever had a career, Miss Bessinger. You've just been in here with the shades pulled for as long as I can remember.
Well, this was some years back.
Oh.
You were probably still freezing stiffs over at the county seat then. But I was once quite a well-known librarian here in the village.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware that your health had ever permitted you to work outside the home.
Yes, I filled in for Grandma Wanderman for almost a week at the checkout desk in 1937. I'd planned to keep the job during her whole vacation, but I just couldn't stand the pace.
Well, I think most librarians eventually reach the point where they can stamp the date on books without letting it tire them out too much.
Well, that was only part of the problem. It seemed as though the children were always squabbling over the same book they wanted. Sometimes I think I might have been able to take it if the library had just bought a second copy of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, I suppose we all think back to little things like that and dream of what might have been. But was that the only thing you called me over here to discuss, Miss Bessinger?
No, not by a long shot, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. I've just been sitting here in stark terror all day because there's a human hand sticking out of one of the bureau drawers over in the corner. It must be the body of a very small person stuffed inside there. But I presume your department handles dead midgets with no questions asked.
Well, we ask questions regardless of the size of the person, Miss Bessinger. But you don't need to be concerned because that's not a human hand sticking out of that drawer. It's just one of those novelty Chinese back scratchers that's made in the shape of a hand.
Oh, upon my word, I do believe you're right, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. I remember now that I was rooting around in the drawer this morning, hunting for the cat's front booties before I put him out. I guess part of the back scratcher was left caught in the drawer when I closed it again. I swear, you You can't know what a load this takes off my mind. I almost feel as if I'm no longer standing in the gathering dusk.
Can it be that Edna's freedom from fear of a dead midget in her bureau drawer may at last pave the way to future happiness? Or will there only be further heartbreak when she realizes that if the midget isn't in the drawer, he must be somewhere else? Be sure to join us next time for the next exciting episode when Edna goes to the village in the gathering dusk.
Wally Blue is standing by at the Bob and Ray Trophy Train.
Harold, Long Island, where I'm standing by at the Bob and Ray Trophy Train on the hottest day since 1964. You may be able to hear the fan in the background. We don't have air conditioning, do we, Mr. Gilmore?
No, we don't.
This is the manager of the train who's been responsible for its trip across the country. And it's
Stifling in here, too. I'm afraid some of the trophies will be affected by this intense, humid heat.
Some of those early plastic items might actually melt.
And those old 4th and 5th grade class pictures of Bob and Ray's certainly can't take this heat. They're beginning to buckle.
Yeah, curling up there, I can see it. Outside, there seems to be a few people here, though. A group from, I believe, a junior high school came through moments ago.
Yes, we had a group here from Fort Washington come through here, and they're enjoying it very much. Although most of the kids are saying, who are Bob and Ray? They don't seem to be familiar with them.
Well, you explained in your lecture, don't you?
Well, they have a 40-minute lecture and a slide presentation before they go on to the
They really know who Bob and Ray are when they get off.
Oh,
right?
You bet, and they truly appreciate what they've done.
Well, they certainly have done a lot. They're legends in their own time, I like to say.
That's what I understand, right. Help yourself to one of those Maryland crab cakes.
Not today. Now, this is Wally Ballou from the Trophy Train in Harold, Long Island. Back to the studio. Welcome now to another episode of Wing Po, the true-to-life story of a Chinese philosopher who wanders across the American frontier in search of work. As our action-packed drama begins today, Wing Po has just entered the small rundown saloon at Bitter Creek and is approaching the bar.
Howdy there, young fella. What'll it be?
It will be as it has always been, for life is much like the rolling wheel of the ox cart. If we are to know how the spokes shall move on the next turn, we need only remember what they have done before.
You're from out of town, ain't you?
The thought you express reflects knowledge. I have traveled far in the hope that I may see from below the same tree limbs which the soaring hawk can only see from above.
Do you want to give me a drink order now, or do you think maybe you've already had too much?
I do not seek the goods you sell, for the drink that deadens the mind must also blur the inward vision of the spirit. And he who sees only outward is much like snowflake, which can fall no other way except down.
Look, fella, I don't want to seem unfriendly, but why are you taking up space at my bar if you ain't planning to be a customer?
I intend to be no more burden upon you than Meadowlark, who rides the buffalo. I'm here in search of honest work.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so? I take on drifters here from time to time. What can you do? 10 bar, deal faro, or what?
I can offer the philosophy that opens the gate to age-old wisdom.
Yeah, well, everybody who comes in here thinks he can do that. All I need is somebody to wash beer glasses for 50 cents a day in meals.
Your generosity overwhelms. But the rainbow of color left by nature upon the dirty glass is not a thing to be washed away. It must be held to the light and carefully perceived.
Well, look, if you're fixing to perceive every glass before you wash it, I couldn't go any higher than 2 bits a day.
So it shall be. And I will also play my flute for your dancing girls to shuffle their feet to.
Clifford, why are you standing here talking to the only customer in the place when there's booze to be toted up from the cellar?
Please, do not place blame upon his shoulder. The fault for speaking too long is mine. But I find it difficult to dispense only a little wisdom.
Clifford, who's this clown in the kimono staring through that empty beer glass?
I am Wing Po.
He's a philosopher I hired to wash the glassware, Nettie, but right now he's just perceiving that empty one first.
It is true, for life...
Doing what with it?
It's sometimes a hard thing to explain.
No, it ain't. He's perceiving the beer glass, Nettie. He says nature puts all kinds of rainbows and things inside dirty beer glasses. So he's got to perceive each one before he washes it.
He speaks the truth. See how the yellows and golds catch the glimmerings of light. For one who seeks to know the ingredients of the sunrise, look no further.
Well, we've had a lot of loonies around this place, but you're the first one who thought the sunrise was made out of stale beer. Now, are you going to pick up your flute and leave? Or shall I part your hair with this crowbar?
Let there be no violence. I shall go, for destiny has so ordered it. Bye-bye. And so our hero moves on to his next exciting adventure. Be sure to join us soon for more action-packed drama in the thrilling life of Wing Po.
It's time to gain more valuable tips for you home handymen as we pay another of our regular visits to the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer. Fred, it seems kind of hard to walk in here today. And all these iron pipes strung out across the floor, something new?
Yes, they are, Ray. I bought these pipes very inexpensively and then hooked them all together with simple tools. Next winter, I'll circulate hot water through the whole system, and it'll heat the workshop without wasting valuable fuel oil.
Well, that sounds like a great money-saving do-it-yourself project, Fred, and I'm sure that a lot of home handymen in our widespread audience will want to try the same thing. So would you tell them where you plan to put your feet next winter when the pipes get too hot to stand on the floor?
Well, that's no problem at all, Ray. Good stout asbestos boots offer plenty of insulation, and they're readily available at any shoe store that caters to firemen.
So there you have it, dear listeners, just one more example of better living by doing it yourself. And Fred, I know our home handymen are all anxious to hear about the project that you've chosen to demonstrate this week.
Yes, this week, Ray, I've picked a do-it-yourself project to demonstrate that it's a real money saver. Most of us spend a good part of our income buying complete new light bulbs, correct?
That's right.
And of course, that's foolish because a burned-out bulb can be made good as new just by replacing one little filament inside.
Well, you always make these things sound easy, Fred, but I thought it was virtually impossible to repair a light bulb, once it had burned out.
No, not at all. I'm afraid you're just not very handy with simple tools, are you?
No, I'm pretty much all thumbs. That's why I enjoy watching you do this marvelous work here in the shop. So please go ahead and demonstrate how to fix light bulbs.
Well, there's really nothing to it. Here's a bulb that I've already taken apart with the aid of an ordinary number 5 hacksaw.
You just cut the glass globe away from the metal base there,
That's right. And as I indicated, those parts can be used again. It's only the filament that needs replacing. I'm making a new one here by bending very thin tungsten wire into a coil.
Gee, that's tiny. It must be terribly hard to work on.
Well, it can hardly be seen with the naked eye at all, Ray, but if you keep the wire steady by clamping it in a number 8 vise like this, then one hand is free to hold a magnifying glass while the other hand operates the tweezers.
And those are just ordinary household tweezers you're using to bend the wires, is that it?
Well, they're the ones my wife uses on her eyebrows. I'd say they're number 9 tweezers, maybe number 10. But no smaller than that. Now, you just keep twisting the wire until you've made about 40 to 50 very small loops in it.
Gee, 50 loops in a filament that can't be more than, how long, Fred, a quarter of an inch?
Well, these filaments have to be approximately 6.4 millimeters long. It's about a quarter of an inch, right? Then you just wrap the ends of the wire around these 2 posts, and you're done.
Well, of course, you've still got the glass part of the bulb detached from the metal base, Fred. Don't you have to do something about that?
Well, you can fuse the 2 parts back together if you have the right type of glass-blowing equipment. Of course, the inside of the bulb has to be a complete vacuum, and the equipment to draw the air out of there is very expensive, so I have that fusing and vacuuming work done for me at a light bulb factory.
Well, I didn't know they'd take special orders to do repair work like this.
Well, the big mass production factories won't, but there are still a few craftsmen around who make light bulbs by hand. I send mine to an old gentleman in North Carolina, and he does a fine job of fusing the globe back onto the base for about $25.
I see, and then, of course, you can look forward to many more months of dependable service from a bulb that most people would have thrown away. Well, once again, we've seen an example of how to live better by doing it yourself. Direct from the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer. And now the Kraftweiler Industrial Cartel, producers of all sorts of stuff, made out of everything, invite you to widen your horizons.
Yes, friends, it's time again for the award-winning public service program, Widen Your Horizons, a program that teaches you how to lead a fuller and happier life by acquiring new skills. Our subject for today is one of general interest, I think, how to replace a burned-out light bulb. And to lead the discussion, a real expert on the subject, Mr. Chester Wadsworth of the Blue Lightning Electric Company. I think I'm correct, Mr. Wadsworth, in saying that your firm is the nation's largest producer of light bulbs?
Well, we produce more 55-watt bulbs than any other company. You see, most of our competitors make 50s, 60s, but we have the only 55 on the market today.
So, of course, you lead in that division, eh?
Well, we lead in production. Now, as to whether we sell any of them or not, I just couldn't say. You have to check with the sales department.
Well, that's really not too important.
You mean it's not too important to you? We're not important to the sales department.
Well, I meant it's not too important to our discussion here. What we're primarily interested in is how to replace burned-out bulbs. And you were telling me before we went on the air that only about 20% of the people in this country know how to replace a light bulb when it burns out. I find that hard to believe.
Well, you see, most of the lamps you buy today already have bulbs in them. The average person believes that when the bulb burns out, you have to throw the lamp away.
Well, it'd be a terrible waste if people did that.
Well, of course, the lamp manufacturers encourage this public ignorance, and it's up to us in the bulb game to educate the public.
Well, I see that you brought a lamp along with you today, and it's plugged in, but it isn't lighted. Now, does that mean that there's a burned-out bulb in it?
Yes, that indicates that the lamp has a burned-out bulb, yes.
Well, then suppose you go right ahead and demonstrate how a person would go about replacing it, will you?
Well, it's almost self-evident, but before you can put in a new bulb...
You have to get rid of the old one.
That's right. Now, this is the step that hinders many people because they think that it has to be pulled straight out by brute force. Actually, it screws out quite easily.
Well, you do make it look quite easy, Mr. Wadsworth. I suppose even a child could do it.
Well, that would depend a lot on the dexterity of the child, of course, but any normal adult can do it. Now, you'll notice that I have the old bulb out here, and I merely take the new bulb.
What's the matter, Miss Wadsworth?
I got my finger on the socket. The current must be on. I can't move.
Well, maybe your feet are wet. They say that can make a person turn purple when he sticks his finger in a light socket. You think you'll be able to get on with the demonstration?
I can't move. I'm stuck here.
Oh, well, that's all right. We're running a little short of time anyway, so I'll just say that you've been listening to Widen Your Horizons, and our guest speaker today was Mr. Chester Wadsworth. Copies of his remarks may be obtained from your local agent of the Kraftweiler Industrial Cartel.
Come in, please, in Harold, Wally Ballou.
Wally Ballou here in Harold, and it's a little bit quieter today than it has been the past week or so that we've been here. I don't think we've worn out our welcome. There was a good crowd of people over the weekend. Mr. Gilmore,
Yes,
how do you size up the situation this afternoon?
Well, we've had a lot of 10th, 11th grade students come by because they didn't have to take their Regents exams because of the big scandal, you know.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So rather than go to school to take their Regents test, they've availed themselves of the opportunity to come here and to go through the Bob and Ray Trophy train.
Well, that's
so I don't
good.
know whether it's a mixed blessing for them or what. I don't know.
Well,
I have no opinion on it.
They seem to want to come here and see the Bob and Ray memorabilia.
I just know when I was a kid, if I didn't have to take a test, I figured that was good luck somehow.
Right.
And, well...
There comes somebody.
Yes,
They just been on the train, and they just stepped off.
And so, well, we're going to leave Harold now and head up towards New England.
Oh, you're taking it out of town, huh?
Yeah, we've just about, I think, saturated the market here.
Well, that's it, Wally. Thanks for that report.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. It's later the same day now, and in the town hall at Meredith, New Hampshire, Harry, Pop, and Calvin stand discussing the fact that Mary definitely must have disappeared. And we hear Calvin say,
"But you know, I have a funny feeling, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, But the lady who was driving that cab bore a striking resemblance to Mary.
Well, as I said, Calvin, I didn't get a good look at her, but I heard her voice, and how could Mary be driving a cab anyway? She doesn't even have a license.
Does she have any relatives up this way that you know of?
No.
They look alike, you know.
Yes, that's possible, but didn't she say something about not knowing where she was from?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said that all right.
Well, that would just be more fuel for the fire that would make us think that it was Mary, you know?
Do you think she's trying to hide her identity or something?
Could
it is her?
Could it be? Now, let's try to analyze this thing intelligently.
Right.
Could it be possible that the spooks down at the theater scared her so that she's beside herself with anxiety and, took to driving a taxi cab?
Oh,
does that make any sense to you, or am I whistling Dixie?
I don't sense the logic in that, Calvin. Of all things to do, I can't see Mary going out and getting a job with a taxi cab company.
No, I suppose.
And those aren't spooks anyway. We discovered they're just some of the town hoodlums.
But she didn't know that at the time of her disappearance.
That's right. She disappeared before we figured out what the noises were. Yes, that's true.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me think logically. What would I have done
if you were Mary?
If I'd been in her position, yes. I would have stayed on stage and finished the rehearsal, I guess.
Well, let me think what I would have done had I been in her position. I probably would have gone to a movie or something like that. That we tried to go to the movies and see if she's sitting there watching the movie.
Well, that's a thought. We could, I suppose.
What would you do, Pop, if you were in her situation?
Well, first I would have gotten a shoe shine.
Why that?
And then a haircut, because I need both.
These
dusty streets around town ruin a shine. Then I would have looked for Mary, I guess.
Don't you have a funny feeling, though, here in Meredith, that the people are staying off the streets as though they think we're bringing a plague to this town?
Well,
I mean, you don't see a postman, you don't see anybody going in and out of the drugstore or even to the filling station.
That's right.
You don't see anybody coming up to the doctor's office or going over there to the town hall.
Oh, wait a minute. There's the cab again. Cab, Bill. Is it the same person driving?
It looks like Mary.
Sure does.
Hop in. Where to? Ma'am, excuse me.
Would you turn around, ma'am?
Sure.
Why?
Mary.
Mary.
Do you recognize us?
It is Mary. Sure is. I know her face anywhere. Mary, don't you recognize us? Harry, your husband, beloved idol of a million other women. Calvin Hoogerman, your next-door neighbor, and me, Pop, beloved stage doorman.
Well, I've had all kinds of approaches made to me. This is the wildest one ever. Where do you want to go? Should I drive you down to the police station?
And so Harry, Pop, and Calvin ascertain that the driver of the taxi cab in Meredith is in reality Mary. But she doesn't seem to recognize them. You ought to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Mary say,
"No, I don't know you at all."
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble What? Word Carr speaking.